Welcome to the Instep, the only magic show sponsored by both the Golgari and the Sultai Graveyard Association. So, leave those scoozes at home. In fact, if you want to attend the show today in your own scavenging ooze, you cannot watch until you go outside and throw it. Maybe tear it up, put it in the trash, whatever it is. I'm sorry, but when somebody sponsors the show, you definitely have to cater towards their needs, and that's what we're doing with the Graveyard Association. So if you have any scoozes at home, make sure you get rid of them, and if you got to rest in peace, go and get rid of those too, and then you can watch the show. But yes, welcome to the Instep. It's been a little bit while since we've done this show. But we got some cool stuff today. We have some Magic streams to talk about, Pleasant Kenobi and Star City Game Baltimore. We got a little bit of comic talk. I've been getting into some comics recently. Got some Pokemon talk too. You have a Speakeasy Commander and a beautiful Klug altar. I cannot wait to show that off. And last but not least, a handcrafted, fresh out of the graveyard. It's been cooking all day and just fermenting in the graveyard. The top 10 Golgari Commanders. So, excited to break that list down, but let's go and start the Instep, and let's put on our wizard hat and wade down to the Magic stream and check out some of the Magic streams that we've got going on this weekend. So, if you want to head over to Pleasant Kenobi's stream, he's going to be doing a 24-hour charity stream. He's going to be trying to raise 4,000 pounds, and all of this money is going to be going towards cancer research for the United Kingdom. If you're not aware, Pleasant Kenobi lost someone that was really close to him, and so this is why he's doing this 24-hour stream. So, if you watched his videos, if you enjoyed his videos, hop over there, whether it's $5-10 or $5-10 if you're from over there. Just do a little bit of donation. That way you can go towards a good cause. And also, it's nice that we have people like Pleasant Kenobi in the Magic community, so when things like this happen, we definitely want to get out there and support them. It's going to be this December 1st at 12 p.m. GMT, and I think that's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. a.m. Eastern Time. So if you want to check it out, it's going to be 24 hours. Be a great way to spend your Saturday and a great way to kind of raise some money for Pleasant Kenobi. I'll definitely be tuning in, and you should too. Now, over on the Star City Game Circuit, we have Star City Game Baltimore. This is going to be the modern circuit. Love watching Star City Game Modern, so if you want to bounce in between Pleasant Kenobi stream and this stream, be a great way to spend some Magic watching this weekend. We also do have Cedric and Patrick. They're going to be commentating a Modern weekend, so this is pretty much the perfect Star City Game event that you would want to watch. It's got Modern, you got Patrick, you've got Cedric. I cannot stress how much I love Patrick. He's a great commentator. In fact, I borrow a lot of my commentary style from him because I used to just spend all weekend watching their streams. So to be able to catch a Modern event with him in there, that is always a nice thing to do. So that's going to be it for the Magic streams. It's going to move us over to the Speakeasy Commander card of the week. Shh, don't tell anybody. And that's going to be Rebuff the Wicked. I love this card. This is such a great effect for Commander. We're looking at 1 white mana. Counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. I played this in my Zeltalpa deck. It's kind of like a gotcha card. And I ended up getting a really salty scoop from one of our opponents one time where they tried to get rid of Zeltalpa, and I was like, Rebuff the Wicked. And it's just such a good card. There's, the fact that it targets, you can counter target spell that targets a permanent you control. It's such a good utility spell. You can protect pretty much anything on the board. Even if you're playing mono white, you're playing Esper, you're playing Naya. Simply having a 1 mana spell to counter a removal spell on your commander is a great thing to have. So definitely run it in any sort of deck that has your commander on the battlefield, or you really care about keeping your commander on the battlefield. All right, so moving on to the Speakeasy. Sorry, I had to pause the video for a second because my cat wanted to get into my lap. But yes, moving on to the next segment, we have the happy little altar, and that's going to be Klug's Ulamog. This is so beautiful. I love this. One of my favorite things, I like to collect sci-fi books, and with these sci-fi books, they have these really cool altars or some of the old sci-fi posters. You're like, and especially if you've seen my Mimeoplasm deck, you've seen how I've done the overlay in the thumbnail, kind of like it came from the swamp. So kind of like that style of these posters of people running away from this big monster. This is such a wonderful altar, and he just does such an amazing job at just kind of capturing this. It's a Magic card, but he transforms it into this movie poster, and I don't know, it looks pretty good. If I ever to sometimes I have a cube that sometimes I print cards out, so I may have to kind of print this out and slide it in front of my Ulamog because that's such a cool card altar. I don't know. I just kind of love that 1960s aspect to it. Really fun, and once again, just a really good. Now that's going to put us into the comic corner. Now I've gotten into comics really within the last probably the last 3 months, and so I kind of want to talk about some comics that I pick up from random times, and that's going to be Outer Dark. Let's see if I can get a little bit of a better view on it. There we go. This is going to be a space opera comic. It released last month, and I highly enjoyed it. I will say this, the story, at least in the initial first one, it is very kind of cookie cutter. It's kind of like you have this Officer Rig. He's in charge of the ship. He's this kind of rogue pilot. He gets in trouble, then he quits, and then they're just like, "Hey, Rig, we need you to come back for one more shot." And he's like, "I don't know." And so, but you know, the end of the comic is them going on this adventure, and basically it's going to be a space opera going forward on a monthly basis. And even though the beginning of the story, they have to start somewhere, and so the artwork in it is amazing, and I cannot wait to kind of follow this ship. As that kind of goes throughout space, you can see some of the art right here. How good! I mean, it's just got these little like, they almost look like the little StarCraft guys or whatever. But this is like they run into a necromancer storm or something like that. It starts to affect some of the crew within the ship, and so it just, I don't know. I'm just really excited. The artwork's really cool. You can see that cover looking like looks like Necasaur a little bit or something like that. Just weird sort of deep Gurmag angler style looking fish. But anyway, I'm really excited to kind of follow this crew on their adventures into space. If you're looking for a new comic to read, I highly recommend it and cannot wait for the second one to come out. Yeah, I think it came out probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so your local comic store should have it. And pick it up, kind of go from there. Like I mentioned, the original story for the comic is a little cheesy, but you also have to kind of sit back and be like, okay, well, you know, they have to start somewhere. And it's a good starting point. Can't wait to kind of see this crew go through there. It definitely reminds me of and I cannot remember it now, but it's a show on TNT or TBS. Conan O'Brien did it, and it's I think like Deep Space or something like that. But it kind of reminds me of this Adventure Time, but a little bit more of a serious Adventure Time, and the artwork was just really good. So check it out, really cool. Moving on, that's going to be talking about Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I've been playing a ton of Pokemon. If you're not aware, this came out probably about I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. If you're not sure whether you should get this game or not, if you played Pokemon Red, if you played Pokemon Blue back in the day, this is a remake of Pokemon Yellow, except they have Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, so you can choose your Pokemon that follows you. It's a remake of the original Pokemon Blue and Red, the actual setting, and I cannot recommend this game enough. If you enjoy the old school kind of Pokemon style, I've been buying every single Pokemon game since it came out, and recently within the last 5 years, I buy the new game and I play it and I get about 5 hours in and it just doesn't feel like what I grew up with. And so I end up just stop playing it because I don't really enjoy it that much. I've already sunk probably about 30 hours into this game and it is a ton of fun. One of the big changes that they did make, and I want to cover this because it sounds like it wouldn't work that well, but it works out wonderfully. They've taken the Pokemon catching aspect of Let's Go, and that's what they've replaced the grinding aspect of original Pokemon. So let's say that you catch a Pokemon, you want to level it up, you go into the grass, you fight wild Pokemon, you beat them. And I always like imagining, like, once you're leveling up Pokemon, all the fainted Pokemon in your wake or whatever. But yeah, that was the way that you leveled up Pokemon. So they've changed that. So now you walk into the grass, you can see the Pokemon, so you walk up to it, and that's how you engage the actual catching process. And then you throw your Pokemon ball, and once you catch it, you get experience points, and that's going to be spread out through your entire team. So you're still doing the same grinding aspect. It's going to take 20, 30 minutes to level up your Pokemon. Instead of just sitting there and spamming the same move over and over again, you're catching Pokemon, you're leveling up your entire team, and it makes it really easy to kind of level up Pokemon that you would normally never play with. I don't know how you play, but I typically, once I get my 6 or 7 Pokemon, I stick with those. And I may catch a few here and there, but I'm not going to level them up because it takes so long. I've actually kind of got 2 teams going, so I'm really excited to kind of talk about it. It just makes it really easy to kind of relax and play some Pokemon. Like I was kind of shiny hunting for a Duduo or whatever, the kind of 2-headed Pokemon, and I don't know, it's just really enjoyable. So if you enjoyed Pokemon Red growing up, Pokemon Blue and Red growing up, you should definitely check it out. It definitely has that old school feel. I feel like a little kid again. But let's move on to my main team. So I have Charizard on my team, which was my very first starter. Love Charizard. Pidgeot. I also have Golem on my team. Raticate. I love Raticate. Raticate has this Hyper Fang attack that gets rid of half of their HP. So it's a pretty cool little move. And I have some other stuff. I have Dig and a couple other things. And they actually pretty fast. My buddy, he got Pokemon Pikachu. Let's Go Pikachu. And so he traded me a Sandslash, which is going to be the ice version from the Alolan version, which is pretty cool. I like leveling that one up. I also have Beedrill. Beedrill is one of those Pokemon that I've always wanted to kind of have one on my team, but I never really got around to building one. And so to kind of, with this, especially with this leveling up system, it makes it really easy just to kind of throw Beedrill into your system, into your team, and just kind of level up. So I'm really enjoying Beedrill. I've got I can't remember the moves right now, but I've got some sort of bug attack. I have a really nice Mega Drain grass attack, and then there's another poison attack. So he's got a really good spread of attacks. Now onto the kind of our second team, my B team. I've got Venusaur. You can get the original starters from blue and red pretty easily. So I was like, why not? Let's go and level them up. So I've got Venusaur in here. I love Primate. Once you get him leveled up, get those fight counters. I did run into Snorlax the other day, and Primate has a low kick. And so what low kick does is it deals damage equal to the Pokemon's weight. And so, you know, pretty much the heaviest Pokemon in the game is going to be Snorlax. So I got to use Primate to knock down Snorlax, and that felt pretty good. Running Nidoking, which I'm really excited because I've played Red and Blue. Original, I've played it on the remake for Game Boy Advance, and I've never done a Nidoking, so that's going to be pretty cool. Blastoise, standard water Pokemon. I had Pharaoh. I don't know, just kind of left it in my team and started leveling up Pharaoh. I was like, all right, well, he just kind of made the team by default because I left him on my team. And then Mr. Mime, and I will say this, Mr. Mime is so creepy in Pokemon Let's Go because, like I mentioned, you walk through the grass and you can see the Pokemon walking through there, and Mr. Mime's just kind of like, he's walking real creepy, and I remember thinking like, man, like I don't even want to catch you because I don't want to have you on there, but he's on my team. But if you want to look it up, go to YouTube and just type in Mr. Mime Pokemon Let's Go. He's like really creepy, just kind of like, and he's got a weird smile on his face. It's not good. But anyway, long story short, if you enjoyed old school Pokemon, this is pretty much a remake of old school Pokemon. Everything's updated, 3D, and the grinding system of leveling up your Pokemon has been replaced with catching Pokemon, and it works out wonderful. I love it. I'm a hardcore Pokemon enthusiast. I enjoy the old school games, and this is definitely it. So if you're on the fence about getting it, I highly recommend it. It gets a thumbs up. Go buy it and have some fun. That's going to move us on to the top 10 list of Golgari commanders. So, number 10 is going to be Thielen of Havenwood. I love this Golgari commander because it is so much fun playing his fungus deck. Now, I will say this. If you're going to be building this deck, I highly recommend that you do not care about your win percentage, because if you've never built a fungus spore counter deck, it is really hard to get some stuff moving. It is really fragile. A board wipe can pretty much just knock down your entire house of cards that you've built. But it's still a fun commander to play. Once it kind of works and you get into that groove of getting spore counters going, getting the sapling tokens going, it's a really fun deck to pilot. I just like to recommend that if you're going to be building this deck, do not care about your win percentage. Now, there may be a few people out there that have played, no, you got to do this and that, and kind of go for a combo style deck. If you're truly playing just, core foundation spore counter deck, it's a lot of fun, but keep it in mind that you're not going to be winning, you're not going to be handed any games winning anytime soon. But if you do win, it'll be a lot of fun. All right, so on to number 9. That's going to be Skullbriar. One of the main reasons that Skullbriar is so far down on the list is because Skullbriar is an absolute powerhouse in 1 versus 1 commander. In a multiplayer setting, I've never really seen it in a multiplayer setting. It seems like it'd be a little bit hard to kind of get it going. You could probably make it work in a multiplayer setting, but in 1 versus 1, it is a really good commander. If you don't have any removal in your opening hand, your opponent can put some good pressure on you really quick. Or if you're playing Skullbriar, you can put some pressure on your opponent really quick, and those counters stay on there. So, there's a lot of times where it's a 2-2, 3-3, and next thing you know, it's just really hard to kind of deal with it, and especially if they're running a Voltron package, stuff like Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice. Really hard to get rid of Skullbriar, especially with those counters. And the fact that it has haste, that is really cool. And I always like to imagine it just kind of shambling out of the graveyard, which is, bigger and bigger each time. So number 8 is going to be Ishkana. Ishkana is a wonderful commander to play, and especially if you want to build some sort of kind of green-black rock style deck, something that's kind of like a Delirium deck that you're not necessarily trying to go Spider Tribal. When I originally built Ishkana, I tried to go Spider Tribal, and that is the exact wrong way to go with Ishkana, because these spiders have a really high converted mana cost. They're not good, and it's just, you end up being more frustrated. Like, I don't want to play Ishkana. If you shift Ishkana into more of a Delirium deck to where you want to get her into the battlefield, go for those Panharmonicon style effects, go for the Conjurer's Closet style effects, kind of build those tokens up, and almost use her as a finisher. She's a wonderful commander, and especially suits really well to some sort of Planeswalker deck. Let's say that you have a lot of Raskas in there, you get out Ishkana, you have a lot of spiders. That's going to be a wonderful way for you to kind of protect those Planeswalkers and really go for some really nice control. So, if you're looking for a fun control commander to build that's going to sit back and kind of let your opponents do their things, and then once the dust settles, you try to win the game, this is a commander for you. Number 7 is Vati. I've never built this deck, but I've always played against it, and it is such an interesting take on green-black or Golgari commanders. It has the activated ability that target creature has a base power 1 and base toughness 1. So you run some stuff like, I can't remember the enchantment right now, but all creatures get -1/-1. There's a 4-drop one, curse of something, and there's a 5-drop one too. So basically you get that down on the battlefield. You can use that to kind of basically just spot removal of activated abilities. Then there's other ways that you can untap it once you get rid of a creature. So once that engine gets going of being able to target creatures if they have a -1 effect on the battlefield, once that kind of cycle starts going, it's really hard to deal with it, especially if you don't have any sort of removal or ways to kind of stop that engine. It really makes it hard to keep any sort of creature on the battlefield. You know, especially if you get your commander down. Let's say you do have lightning greaves on the battlefield, you go for that equip. Since that's an activated ability, there's not really much that you can do about it. So it's definitely an interesting take on a Golgari commander that doesn't necessarily care about the graveyard, but keeps on theme with that, the removal suite that you're going for. Number 6 is going to be Mazarek. This is one of those commanders that can get out of hand really quick. You get a +1 counter on it. And especially, you know, sacrifices another permanent. So let's say that you sacrifice one of your fetch lands, you sacrifice an Evolving Wilds, this is going to be a +1 counter. There's not really much to talk about it other than, you know, you're just going to get a ton of counters and you can run a ton of sacrifice effects. I will say this, Mazarek is a lot of fun in the main deck, but if you're going to build it as a commander, you might end up getting some hate, especially if you want to keep Mazarek off the battlefield, because once Mazarek gets on the battlefield and starts kind of buzzing those wings, those +1 counters start to flow and people start to notice that. They don't like those +1 counters going. Number 5 is going to be Slimefoot the Stowaway. Very much like Ishkana, this is kind of a different take on Golgari. Whenever a sapling you control dies, it deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life, and it does have the 4 mana activation. This is pretty much the exact same thing like I mentioned with Thielen. You want to be able to build this as a big mana deck, and you want to build it as a token generator deck. You don't want to necessarily build it as a fungus deck. You can build it as a fungus deck, and it will be fun, but like I mentioned, if you're going to put the fungus deck, it kind of puts your focus on those fungus counters, and once you get those spore counters going, like I mentioned, any sort of board wipe that happens, it just really kind of sets that entire house of cards falling down. So if you're going to build Slimefoot, I highly recommend building a big mana deck, a lot of mana rocks, and that's going to allow you to get those sapling tokens going. And plus it's fun, you get to run stuff like Blood Artist, you get to run stuff like Falconrad Noble, also get to run the Poison Tip Archer, one of the new cards that came out, and so you kind of get to build this kind of token aristocrats deck. You get to put Parallel Lives in there. It's a really fun way to build a Golgari deck, especially if you're tired of kind of building some sort of Golgari graveyard style deck. Number 4 is going to be Hapatra. I love this. It's going to fit perfectly on theme with getting green-black tokens on the battlefield. Whenever we put a -1 counter on a creature, we get a 1/1 snake token with Death Touch. So it's a wonderful way for opponents to want to swing into you. You can kind of start doing your own thing by putting -1 counters on your opponent's creatures. And if they want to swing in, kind of damage your life total, you have a bunch of snakes with Death Touch, so it's going to really punish them for swinging into you. And getting those snake tokens is super easy on the battlefield. Plus, you're able to get down Hapatra on turn 2 as quickly as possible. And that's really going to fit in with your game plan, because once you get her down on turn 2, you're looking at turn 3 -1 spells, you're looking at turn 4 enchantments, different things like that care about getting -1 counters on your opponent's creatures. So she's just a wonderful commander to play, and if you never built her, the only downside is Hapatra is really one-sided. There's pretty much one way you can take her, and that's going to be -1 counters. But it's a fun deck to play, and I highly recommend it if you have not played it. Number 3 is going to be Varlos, the Scar Striped. This is what I would consider your classic Golgari commander. Each creature in your graveyard has Scavenge. I got in during Return to Ravnica, so I just fell in love with the Scavenge ability, and the fact that it gives all of your creatures Scavenge, that's pretty much what Golgari wants. You know, Golgari cares about the life-death cycle, that let's say that you do die, you're not necessarily a waste now. We can turn you into a plant zombie. We can use you to do this, and that keeps on theme with the circle, the life and death cycle with the Golgari that they care about. So it's really cool that, you know, you can also do some really busted stuff like get down a Phyrexian Dreadnought. If you don't have the 12 power to pay for that, you can sacrifice it, goes to the graveyard, and then for 1 mana, you get to put 13 counters on a creature. So if you're looking for a good graveyard deck to play that's not necessarily just focused on Reanimator, go with this one. Highly recommend it. Number 2 is going to be Marin. I've never built Marin. I need to build Marin, but I want to put it at number 2 because Marin is pretty much one of the staple Golgari commanders. It cares about creatures going into the graveyard. You get those experience counters. One of the main reasons why it's really turned away on Marin is because I just hate Spore Frog. I've never really built it, and it's such a good card in the deck, and I feel like Marin gets a lot of hate because of cards like Spore Frog. So if you don't build, hate that frog. Anyway, because I never run Graveyard Hate, and I always get just blown out by Spore Frog every single turn. It's a stupid little smile. But if you're looking for a good graveyard deck that cares about sacrificing your creatures, and then once you get that experience counter ball rolling, I mean, it is hard to stop Marin. They just keep bringing stuff out of the graveyard. You can return, even if you don't have the experience counter, you get to bring stuff out of the graveyard back to your hand so you can cast it. So you've got this enter the battlefield creatures effect. You've got these just entire suite of creatures at your disposal with Marin. Definitely get some really good job going. Number 1 is going to be the Hypnotoad himself, Mr. Gitrog. So I love Gitrog. He's my actual favorite Golgari commander because he is such a value engine. You know, he's going to be drawing you cards. So pretty much whatever game plan you want to do, it's pretty much feasible with Gitrog. I built an Enchantress deck with Gitrog. If you haven't seen it, Hypnotoad, go check it out. A lot of fun. You can build a Gitrog Lands Matters deck. You can build a Gitrog Control deck. The core value with Gitrog is that whenever you hit a land into your graveyard, you're going to be drawing a card. So, like I mentioned, that's going to be the focal point of Gitrog Monster. That's going to allow you to generate a ton of value, a ton of card draw. And once you get that ball rolling on Gitrog, it's really hard to stop, and especially once you bury your opponent under card advantage. There's also other ways that you can kind of go combo with Gitrog. You know, at your end step, you discard a lane, draw a card, and basically you can kind of cycle through your deck. I cannot remember, but there's one video I played where you play against Gitrog Storm, and I'll try to find it. Anyway, I'll try to post it in the comments if I can find it. But yeah, there's tons of ways that you can take Gitrog. It is such a good value. Even if you just build like a green-black rock deck where you get some planeswalkers down, kind of go for control, lots of removal, that's going to suit really well. And you especially just throw a Life from the Loam in there, and you are set to go. But that's going to bring us to the end steps. That's going to be it for the show. Like I mentioned, you definitely need to go check out Pleasant Kenobi's stream. It's going to be for a good cause. Highly recommend it. And if you've got $5 or $10, throw it over his way. If you enjoyed his videos, he would certainly enjoy you giving him a quick donation. But that's going to be it for the video. I hope you have a good weekend. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.